Welcome to Innovation Matters. Today is May 6th. We just passed Cinco de Mayo Day, which is a big deal because we all like to celebrate and have fun on Cinco de Mayo. But today we're focused on Innovation Matters. We're focused on Innovation Matters with teachers. And this is National Teachers Week, and we have the opportunity to talk about how teachers are so influential in our lives and how they drive us. Albert Einstein said, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy and creativity and expression and knowledge." And I think that's really what teachers have the opportunity to do. They have an opportunity to do so many things to influence and shape the futures of students that they touch and impact. So because of that, over the years, I've had the chance to be able to have Dan Puga and Rob Tuft, both of In Time Tec, legendary Dan Puga and Rob Tuft. And they have told me stories, multiple occasions, of a gentleman, I believe his name is Mr. Jerry Johnson, who was a teacher of theirs when they were both students in the same class at Valley View High School. Welcome, Dan. Welcome, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
So guys, this is kind of great because this teacher was just not your normal teacher. This is a computer science teacher that did some things to inspire you guys. Why don't you talk a little bit about well, first of all, why don't you tell everybody about In Time Tec? I wanted to let everybody know how awesome of a company In Time Tec is. Dan, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I can take that on. So, our company, In Time Tec, really strives to partner with other businesses in such a way that we deliver business value as defined by them. So they can either accelerate growth or find new market opportunities. And we just happen to do that through software development. And it's primarily staff augmentation. We have a lot of resources. We have 600 folks in India, 90 plus in the US, and we partner with a lot of different companies to help them accelerate what they're up to in life. And our brand promise is ROI or don't pay. If we can't deliver business value as defined by that customer, then you don't have to pay us. And we're very selective in making sure that we know we can deliver that value before we take on a client.
What's so cool about that, Dan, is that I have a lot of people that I interact with that use you. They're clients of In Time Tec, right?
Yep.
And obviously, if that ROI is not being delivered, they wouldn't still be there. But they have they've had great comments about their experience with you and your team. So, okay. Wonderful. So now we have this whole thing. Rob, why don't you tell us about Mr. Johnson as your teacher?
Sure. Jerry Johnson was an amazing man, and he took on learning computer science on his own. It wasn't part of the curriculum. He created the curriculum at Valley View High School in the late 80s. And we taught this word processing class on these old K Pros. And that's how we got involved in that. We did have an introduction in middle school with basic programming and Mr. Noogle. So that was not really a thing you did back in that day, teach eighth graders how to program in basic. So when we showed up and we got introduced to Mr. Johnson and K-Pro word processing, he started talking to us about computer programming and coding. And he offered to us this curriculum to go after and learn C, Pascal first, and then C programming. That was just not being done in the late 80s in Idaho. I remember he was such a endearing man. He took an interest in us and offered to us this computer science curriculum. He offered when we were a junior and a senior, I remember, he offered up his back room for us to study how to code in C to pass the computer science AP test. And that's something that we took on. He was learning it, learned a lot of it with us and prepared us for that computer science AP test. And then that just, fueled the interest on my side. I went on to electrical and computer engineering and computer science. But Mr. Johnson, he created that opportunity for us that directly led to what Dan and I are up to today in software development.
So he kind of created this spark. What year was that, Rob?
87, I believe. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah, that's when we would have started. Yeah.
When it started. Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sell your guys' age because you're both younger than all of that, which is understandable. So this guy created Jerry Johnson created this spark.
Yep.
Dan, tell a little bit more, add some more color to that.
Yeah. Well, as Rob said, he took a genuine interest in us. And besides the studying and the programming, the other cool thing he let us do is we were pretty much the IT support for the high school, right? So hard drive replacements, changing out graphic cards. He'd have, these 286 computers. I know we're dating ourselves, and we just got to tinker and play and really learn. And then alongside that, like Rob said, we got to learn programming, starting with Pascal and the C programming. And Rob talked about the AP exam, but the really cool thing that happened to us that I think for me personally transformed my life was there was a guy in the grade before us, Steve Bishop, who had gotten a high school internship called the Select program at HP. And then by the time we came in, it called WEEP. And we got to be high school interns for the whole school year. We started in September through May, and we worked on writing a Windows program that connected HP's lab stock with their purchasing department so they could keep inventory and know when to order stuff. And they turned that over to 2 high school kids working on HP 3000, doing Windows, built the whole UI from scratch, all of that stuff. I mean, that to me, having gone through Mr. Johnson's curriculum, prepared us as high school seniors to interview strongly to get a kind of an opportunity like that was just tremendous. That's the kind of human being that Mr. Johnson was. Just great human being. But had he not given us those tools and skills, it would not have put us on the path that we've both been on.
That's so. If you look at this right now and you take a look at that, I mean, I'm just saying, if you took out this course, you wouldn't have had the opportunity at HP. You wouldn't have had. I mean, both of you ended up working at HP before you had all of this. I mean, which is another great story of how that happened for Boise. But you sit there, and if you didn't have any of this, you would have this transformed life. Let me ask you a question. This is one that I was in a class at Bishop Kelly High School, and they're doing their what's called exploring computer science class. And this 9th grader, it's almost all 9th graders. And I said, "What did you guys think about it?" And he raised his hand. He said, "I got to tell you, it's almost like it gave me a secret power, because now I'm doing something that I didn't realize that I could do. I'm understanding something I didn't understand that I could understand because of this whole coding thing that's taking place." Did that happen? Did that happen to you guys when you were back in Mr. Johnson's class?
I'll take that first. Yeah, it really did. It was, we could actually control and program the computer and produce results that we had never seen before. That was just amazing. And this was really, I remember the first laptop that Jerry Johnson had. He showed it to us, and we were just like amazed, like, what is this thing? And then I remember Dan got a laptop later, and then he brought in a LaserJet 2 printer, something we had never seen before. And so he was like giving us this insight in this whole new world, and the skills and the tools to make that happen. What he was giving us in this C coding skills is what drove that laptop and what drove that printer. So for me, it was so much fun to be able to code up an algorithm and watch it perform. Wow. And watch it fail and debug it, but then also watch it perform and work.
It opens vistas. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, well, Rob and I were talking a little bit earlier, and one of the cool things we did, we had a physics project with Mrs. Ollie's class, and it was to try to plot and graph the temperature change of a liquid over time. And we're talking to Mr. Johnson, and he ordered a thermistor for us that hooked into a serial port of a computer, and we wrote a program to monitor at a frequency the temperature drop, and we were able to graph that real time. And we did that in this physics class. People like, how in the world did you do that? And that was I think what turned us on to one, that we were capable of something bigger than we thought we were, because somebody believed in us, like a Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
and really propelled us into the place called, let's go explore and examine this domain and see how we can make a contribution, because it was unlike anything else that you would have experienced in 89 for sure.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, because there are things that happened and happening in a lot of schools that don't even have what you guys had in Valley View during 1989, 87, during that time frame, because they just don't have, sometimes because of people, it takes people like Mr. Johnson to be able to make this difference. Could you see the kind of passion that Mr. Johnson had for this, to be able to transfer this knowledge to you too?
Yeah, totally. I experienced that for sure. And one of the interesting transition that happened during that time frame was all of a sudden the school needed networking, and it needed servers, and it needed other things. And so guys like Mr. Johnson, who had this passion in this domain, got sucked into more of the district level. Okay, how do we actually do IT for the district? And that space never got filled back in. Now it's being filled back in with CTE, but it was like we just happened to hit, I would say, the window at the right time. And we know other guys, James Price from Clearwater Analytics shares the same kind of story. Just happened to have had a guy who picked up a computer programming book and then found a few kids who were interested and took them for a journey. And I feel blessed that we were able to hit that window. It totally shifted my life. I promise you.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson left a mark on both you and Rob. And what's really cool about that is whenever you have somebody that's passionate about that, it transfers to the students, right? You could see that clearly, right? So
absolutely.
I have to say that you said something, Dan, that I think is really important here. The sustainable nature of having students that graduate from Idaho high schools and their ability to have computing literacy to be able to compete in the digital world. That's what we're talking about now, right? So what happened is that Mr. Johnson got pulled up. You mentioned this, to a district level, so he no longer was teaching this at Valley View High School. So was there a void then, like you're saying? It didn't happen anymore. You didn't have a Mr. Johnson after he does 3 or 4 years. He's now there was nobody to take his place, right?
That was my experience. Yeah. From what I saw, he got moved in. Even when my kids went to Valley View, it was a different experience than I even had in terms of who could deliver that curriculum, because he, as Rob said, he was getting dirty with us. He was learning it as he was going, right? He's like, and he also was passionate about it.
Hey, Rob, this is one where if you had the chance, Rob, to be able to go over to Valley View High School, and Dan, you'd have the same thing, and you could teach one class over there to be able to help it, if we could get something like that, would that be something you'd be interested in doing?
Absolutely. And I know so many other people that are in the industry that would love to be able to go teach at their kids' school or their local school. And one of the things that I see that's not being taught throughout the Valley is web development. That's like the bread and butter of computer science right now, and jobs in the field. So I would love to be able to go in to a high school and donate my time and say, hey, we're going to start up, and I'm going to teach you how to stand up a web app on a hosted server in the cloud in AWS. And I'll show you how to build a front end and a back end. And oh, by the way, this is what it could lead to at a job at a major company in the Valley, at like an HP or a Count or a Simplot. So, and right now there's some, I just can't show up because I don't have a teaching certificate. And so there's some challenges, and we've been looking at some things, but I've been asking for years for that opportunity, exploring that possibility.
Well, I think that we're going to help make that happen. We'll get our heads together on that. I think there's a pathway to make that happen on it, Rob. So, okay. So now we're sitting here. We're at the end of Mr. Johnson. Do you have anything else you two want to add about this that we might have left out? Dan, anything else?
One thing I would add, definitely it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and it should be all year round. He had a lasting impact on us, not only because of what he taught us, but who he was for other people. Mm-hmm. He just was a very kind and genuine, caring human who saw potential in people, wanted to feed that. And that's such a critical component of awakening within somebody, whether it's childhood or adolescence, what's possible for them. And that's who he really was. And I would also offer that at the time when HP had these high school internships, it really made a meaningful difference to get a taste for what life could be like. I grew up in Greenleaf, Idaho, and I worked for my uncle at a stone yard. I had no idea about this whole, like, wow, all these toys and all this stuff and all these very intelligent people you could be around and work with day to day. And so Rob also helps, lead out on some of our initiatives around how to get people connected, even with our company, younger, coming in to learn these things. We have a couple high school students who do penetration testing on our own network and just learning, dabbling, tinkering. Those are the kinds of experiences people need to get to really get connected with what's possible for them in their future.
Yeah.
So both ends of that are really critical. So industry also needs to step up in a way that's not just, what can you do for me, but how can we make a contribution?
And I like it because what I really like about, and the reason this really resonates with me is because I watch both you and Rob, and I like the idea that you guys are paying it forward. You guys are finding a way to be able to make what Mr. Johnson did for you guys. You're paying it forward because of that experience. So well, thanks so much, Dan. Thanks, Rob. You guys, it's fantastic. The Mr. Johnson experience is a story that I'm going to keep telling people because of Dan Puga and Rob Tuft. So thanks you guys for all that you did and the appreciation. What I would say is let's make sure we appreciate our teachers because they do amazing things in our communities. They make our community stronger because of that ingenuity and the vision they put in our students. There's a quote I had: teaching kids to count is fine, but teaching them what counts is best. So I like that. Thanks, you guys. Next week, we will have, on May 20th, we'll have Dan DeClaus from Plex Track. He just received a 50 A round of funding, and we're so excited to be able to get Dan on to be able to talk about things about his company and cybersecurity. Again, another local person who's done some amazing things. So thanks to having Dan Puga and Rob Tuft on Innovation Matters, because in Idaho, innovation does matter. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, Jay. And we met with Dan a couple weeks ago. He's amazing. So definitely tune in for that. Great human being.
Great plug on that. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thank you.